everyone. Today's day one of my Ayahuasca 5-day retreat, 3 ceremonies and 5 days, and I'm on the road and there's something fuming right in the middle of it. I'm thinking it was a bad wreck, getting a pretty bad feeling about what happened. So far, I've cried a lot because a lot of things have been going on in my life and I've been trying to move on as best I can, and just kind of like keep up with the pace of my life, but it's just been kind of piling up. So as I'm on the road to my destination, a lot of emotions are coming up. Okay, it seems like we're getting past this wreck. It does look really bad. I'm praying for whoever was involved. Okay, so I'm gonna talk while I'm walking. I just got here and it's been a long trip, but it was nice. I got to kind of unpack some things and get centered and get ready for this journey. I have a feeling it's gonna be an adventure. So just getting settled down, putting my things together, gonna figure out some details and bring more things from my car. It's quite a walk, so really excited to be here and honestly ready for this. Documenting my 11th ceremony, wanted to speak some things that I've realized, and kind of dissect them a little bit, I guess. So the ceremony that I had last night was a little different. Well, all of them really are different from each other. None are ever the same. But last night, at the very beginning of the ceremony, I felt very restless and I felt very pacey. So typically I kind of settle down and sit with the medicine and relax and try to go to sleep at the very beginning so that when I wake up, the medicine is already in effect, but I felt very antsy, really wanted to like move around, couldn't really settle down. So I got up and I walked around a bit and the circle was starting. And something that was coming through very strongly for me was this irritation, this desire to constantly be somewhere else. Like the moment I would find a spot to stand or sit, I immediately had to kind of move around. And the very first message for me that came through was that anger and this kind of irritation is the way that I block out my empath abilities. And that was a really powerful lesson in itself because I feel that I take in things so deeply and so personally, especially in the work that I do, the relationships that I have. I haven't found a way to kind of shut down this constant intake of energy and emotions and thoughts of other people. I haven't found a way to manage my own feelings that I can't understand. And so when I get angry and really kind of restless, all over the place, scattered, fragmented, I realized last night, throughout the first kind of part of the ceremony, that that's my way of separating from what I'm feeling and kind of shutting down this intake. So that was an interesting awareness. And what kept coming up for me was this this question. It was like a phrase that kept showing up in my mind, which was, the question remains. And the question was, are you willing to let it go? And so I came in with a lot of sadness that I've been accumulating over the past few months, from some difficult experiences, some traumas, some falling out with people I love, coming back together, falling out again, over and over, different situations, different people, aspects of myself that have been suppressed, have been kind of violently emerging. And the question that remained was, am I willing to let it go? And I kept kind of saying to myself, like, I'm so sad. All of the sadness that's been compounding started kind of coming to the forefront. And the question was, am I willing? Am I able to let it go? And I kept saying yes. And it was like, the question remains, are you willing to let it go? And I'm like, yes. The question remains, are you willing? I'm like, okay, how do I win this? How do I do this? Like, how do I let it go? And someone else in the circle was kind of pouring out a lot of sound, like breathing with sound, and just kind of this voice. And it kept kind of, it kept like showing up for me. Like I couldn't separate myself from that. It was like showing up and showing up. And so finally, I stepped out to this porch area where I'm sitting now, and for a while I just sat and smoked a mapacho cigarette, which is made with jungle tobacco. It's Nicotina rustica, I think is the name of it. And it's very kind of soothing, calming, grounding. It's very strong. It's similar to tobacco, but it's regular tobacco that we know, but it's different. The effects of it are different. So I kind of sat with it, and at some point, while smoking, I had this awareness come through that saying yes to letting go of my sadness and my baggage, my emotional baggage that I've been kind of stockpiling and suppressing, pushing down, or holding it together, that it needed to emerge. And this other beautiful member of the circle that was kind of expressing the sound, expanding through the sound. I just had this breakthrough, and I just leaned over the rail, and I screamed. And it was like a purge. It wouldn't stop until it was all out. And it was just like wailing and screaming and gasping, and just this sound energy pouring out. So that was truly powerful. And then I kind of sat after it was over. I held onto the rails. It was like such a full body experience. It wasn't just throat, it wasn't just voice. It was like the sound was coming through all of my body. And I was screaming and wailing and screaming more and breathing, and just like so much coming out. And I held on to the rail for a while, and I was feeling very weak. I sat down, and I still had that mapacho cigarette in my between my fingers, and so I just kind of held on to it, and my hands were shaking, and I was shaking, and it was a powerful release. I felt very liberated, and after that, there was no more question. Like, the question did not remain, the question did not linger, and I felt really free. And then, as the ceremony continued, had some other realizations as well. But what I really want to document is how we resist letting go for me, it's a big theme in my life. And so I was kind of holding on to whatever was stuck emotionally. But then once that was cleared, there were like physical things that needed to emerge. And ayahuasca is something that is definitely the huge part of that ceremony is purging. And so purging in many different forms. So I went to the bathroom through the woods in the night, and that was a journey in the dark. And there were some other people on the trail towards or going back and forth. And I kind of stopped in the trees, like I stepped out from the path to let some other people come through, and just stood there. And I saw this caterpillar crawling on a leaf with my flashlight, and it just caught my attention for some reason. And I vividly remember it. It was moving so slowly, and I was like, "There's something to it." It was not in a rush. It was not in a hurry. It was just going about its business in the middle of the night. And I was like, this is such a magical moment. For some reason, it just felt like the time stopped. I made it to the bathroom. On my way back, going back into the circle, I had this like pretty violent purge, like kind of throwing up. And it was unexpected. It kind of hit me over the head as soon as I reached our place, our gathering circle place. Again, I like leaned over the rails and I was just throwing up. And right before that happened, I saw another caterpillar on the rail. And it was just like, as soon as I saw it, something like triggered in me. And it was just like this release, purging. It was like quite strong. So I held on, like I felt like I was about to fall down. Because it was like, again, a full body expulsion, I guess, or a release. And that caterpillar, while I was throwing up over the rail, basically holding like a little bucket, and just like leaning on the rail, standing up, trying to stand up. This caterpillar was right next to me, and I was like, oh wow. And again, it was like the time stopped, and I was like, this is the medicine that I've been needing. This is the medicine that I've been seeking. And I'm so grateful. I felt really liberated afterwards. One of the facilitators did kind of an owl feather clearing on me, and it was incredibly powerful. I saw this kind of owl image, and it wasn't an owl. It was like you didn't know where the wings were, where the feathers were, where the head was, where the eyes were. It was just like all this blur of like owl colors, like the beige and the brown, the black, all kind of mixed together in this pattern, and it's just like owls flying. And it was just so beautiful. After that purge, I kind of stayed on the outside, and one of the facilitators came out and did perform this clearing on me, and it was so magical. Some other realizations that I've had throughout the 11th ceremony last night was a realization that I identify with my emotions very much. So it's like the medicine told me, instead of seeing it as I am sad, starting to see it as I feel sad, or instead of seeing it as I am angry, I feel angry. And because I identify, like I say, I am that emotion, the emotion kind of sticks around long after it's done its job. And so the message was to start seeing these emotions as more of a transitory feeling instead of identifying with it, letting it be what it is, just a passing awareness, passing emotion. So that was really powerful. Another thing that came through that kind of had me floored was that, and it was interesting because what I started seeing were these like grotesque, deformed images of just like kind of scary images, like just scary things. And not scary, like I wasn't feeling afraid, but it was just like a lot of unpleasant visuals. And I've been gravitating towards this recently in the content that I consume, like watching a lot of scary videos on YouTube and things like that. And so it was kind of similar. And I was wondering why that was coming through and why I've been kind of drawn to it. And it turns out it was kind of a symbolism for this ugly truth. And the ugly truth was that I haven't been letting some people in my life, in some close family members, I haven't been letting them love me the best they can, because I have some resentment about some ways in which they've disappointed me and some ways in which I've been hurt by them previously. And so the medicine kind of showed me that the way I punish them is I prevent them from loving me the best that they can. And I just kind of exclude them from my experience. And that was hard to take in because it's very true. And I realized that I need to open up, and I need to realize that despite the disappointments and despite the hurt in the past, these people that are near and dear to my heart, they're doing the best they can to love me the way that they can. And there's nothing to gain through punishing them for whatever happened throughout my childhood experiences growing up. That the only way that I can really repair and heal that is to show myself the kind of love and support that I needed back then. But as when it comes to them, I need to let them love me the way that they can, and I can't punish them because it's not the way that I prefer. I can't punish them for doing the best they can because that's all that they can do. So that was interesting because it kind of showed me that I'm addicted to punishing in general, punishing other people, punishing myself, and it's a pattern that I really want to heal because it doesn't really serve any purpose. It just creates more pain, more separation. These were the biggest takeaways. Another thing that was told to me by the medicine was to stop saying I'm sorry so much. And I say this for a reason, for no reason. I say it all the time. And the medicine said that, it's important to kind of shift that dynamic and to hold space and hold compassion and be with the person who is going through an experience or who is expressing something towards me that some of us gathered and ate, and a beautiful member of the circle has showed me a new modality that I'm looking to explore, which is called the internal family systems therapy. So, fascinating subject. I am definitely going to look into it and possibly work with this person because I have some things to resolve. And it was, in a way, very interesting and synchronized because I've been looking for something like that. I just didn't know what it would be to clear up some of these wounded aspects of myself that kind of got stuck at a certain age, that were traumatized at a certain age, have never really evolved. And so once triggered, I just go into this overdrive. And the reason for that is these aspects are being protected kind of by this response. So I'm really looking forward to diving deeper into that and seeing what comes from it. I feel really good about it. I think it's going to be exactly what I need right now. Today has been very nice and slow and beautiful. I slept in until about noon. We got together for some breakfast, got together later on for some sharing, and currently I think it's lunchtime, so I'm thinking I'm gonna go and maybe grab a bite. But this is really good. Feel really good about coming to record this journey and to kind of talk myself through my experiences and document it. I've always wanted to do it, never really got around to it until now. And this journey is really powerful, and I love the fact that there is no Wi-Fi, there is really no cell service, and it's nice to just kind of tune in to nature. I spent some time laying in the grass in this small kind of stone circle, and it was really healing. I am currently on my moon, so I've been having some cramps, but every time I seem to tap in, either by walking barefoot or laying in the grass, it kind of goes away. It just kind of floats out of my physical awareness, and that's beautiful. I'm just so grateful for the gift of nature and Mother Earth, and being able to come here and commune with such an amazing group of people. Something I also realized is that I've been very isolated, working from home and just kind of being by myself most of the day. Seeing my partner when he comes home from work is beautiful, and I'm very grateful for how much we understand each other. But I need to be around more people for sure, and I need to be outside more. So I'm gonna take steps towards that, and get out on purpose, just if even just to walk barefoot on the ground or just sit in the sun for a little bit. And I definitely want to spend some time working around other people, so I'm looking into getting a co-working space once a week, just to kind of go to be around other entrepreneurs and to have some more socialization, or just be around people, other people's energy. I realized this because I've been so starved for this community, this circle kind of sharing, this awareness of each other with others, and coming together to share realizations. And I feel like I've been starved because I've been so like voraciously like connecting with people and talking to people and sharing and listening and taking it all in, their sides, their stories, their journeys, sharing my own, kind of going back and forth. It's been so good. And that made me realize, like, wow, it's been a really long time since I've been the social, because I have been mostly isolated. So I'm gonna change that. That's a very powerful awareness as well that I'm gonna take away from this experience. So on this note, I'm gonna wrap up this first documenting this first ceremony of the 3, and overall my 11th. And I'm looking forward to the next one, which will be happening tomorrow night. coming to document my journey. We're currently at a river and really enjoying the view. I've climbed a rock and sitting here with my journal, documenting my thoughts, realizations. Such a lovely, beautiful day. I'm sure you can hear the water, and I'm really happy. I feel like I'm reconnecting with nature and connecting with the elements and feeling more and more like myself again, and kind of remembering how good it felt to be careless and free, and full of hope when I was little. I think it's always important to tap into the inner child and reconnect with that innocence that we never lose, but we tend to forget. So yeah, a beautiful day out here in the mountains and getting ready for the second ceremony tonight. Hopefully I will get a chance to document afterwards. Really enjoying myself, connecting with beautiful, incredible, amazing people, feeling really grateful and feeling really blessed. So this is my second ceremony update. I have been in such an amazing place today, and the ceremony last night was truly profound. But I left the ceremony space, and I'm staying with a friend. We're really connected. Just kind of met each other in the space, but know some people that are mutual friends. And it's been wonderful. We spent a day together, meandering through this small town, Marshall, which is where she lives, which is not far from the ceremony space, and just trying to get comfortable holding the phone. I don't have my tripod with me, but just washed my hair, which has like been the first time in the last 4 days or so. It's a mess, but I love it. Anyway, we spent some time in the town called Marshall, and went to this beautiful metaphysical shop with a lot of crystals, and I got 2 new decks of cards. One is the Crow Tarot, and the other one is the Making Magic collection of sigils, which has been great. I conducted a reading for her today as a way to kind of share this sacred space. She invited me into her home, so I'm staying with her tonight. Got to have a shower and got to try these new decks. They have been amazing. Just did a reading for one of my clients and kind of settling down about ready to go to bed. We have an early ceremony tomorrow. It's going to be during the daytime, and after that I'm going to head home. But I did want to document some of the takeaways from the ceremony last night before I go into the next one in the morning. And it's been a very physical ceremony for me. And it's been very kind of like a sexual experience, which is odd that I say it. I never really had anything like this before, but it was not sexual in a way that we define sexuality. It was kind of sexual in a way that you feel when you have this sexual awakening, and before there's any shame, before there's any definitions of what it means externally, how it's defined by society, before you ever get to share that or exchange that sexual energy with other people, just within yourself. And this happens pretty early on in our lives as human beings, but we often kind of lose that sight of that as we mature and get older, as we learn how society defines sex and what it represents and what it means, and how we exchange that sexual energy with others, and so on. So after all this happens, we kind of tend to lose sight of this initial awakening, this awakening of sexuality within ourselves. And that's what I was experiencing, and it felt like the medicine was making love to me the entire time. It was very intense. It was very much the divine feminine energy. I felt like the medicine within me and outside of me, and it was just this beautiful connecting with my physical body and awakening to these physical sensations within me, and you know, a lot of like physical sensation. And I wouldn't necessarily say that it was like an orgasm or there was any like point to it or any conclusion. It was just this pure awakening energy, and it felt so good. And I got to release some past trauma that was like kind of cleared out immediately. And something that has really stood out to me about the ceremony last night was that I always kind of, I'm very mental. My sun sign is Gemini, so I tend to be kind of this air energy of mental analysis, thinking, overthinking. And I kept trying to figure out, like, what's the message? What's the takeaway? What should I remember? And the medicine kept coming back and telling me, there's nothing to remember. There's no message. Like, it's just the feeling. It's just the sensation. It's just the sensuality. It's just this physical, grounded, embodied realization. So I kept trying to look for a takeaway or a message, like mental stuff, and the medicine kept bringing me back, like there's nothing to remember, there's nothing to hold on to, there's nothing to think about, just feel, just experience, just go deeper with your body, go deeper with your feelings, go deeper with your sensations, and go deeper with your feminine energy and really dive in and feel instead of think. So that was kind of hard for me to do, but it was a powerful teacher, powerful medicine. And another thing was I kind of realized that I've been really addicted to looking for meaning, assigning meaning. And the way that I teach divination in my psychic coaching is that through divination, through reading cards, through channeling, we assign meaning to things that come through. And I think that's a very powerful ability that humans have, to interpret things, to assign meaning to things. But also, I'm now realizing that it can be very addictive, where we're making everything mean something. And the medicine was showing me that some things just are. Some things don't mean anything. And some things certainly don't mean anything about me. But my constant search for the meaning, like, what does it mean about me? How is this about me? What does this say about me? It's kind of taking my power away, and it's placing my focus in the wrong place. And it's also kind of trapping me in these meanings, because once I make something mean something about me, then I kind of get stuck. So an example could be like an event that happens, or a thing a person says, or a thing someone does, or an occurrence of, events. And sometimes there is a lesson in there, but sometimes it just is. Sometimes someone says something because of them, not because of me. Sometimes a person does something because of them, not because of me. Sometimes things just happen because they do, not because of me. And by making everything mean something about me, I'm taking away this power of just things just being, and people just being, and myself just being, and everything I do and say and experience. I also like wonder, what does it mean to others, or what does it mean? And sometimes it just is, and sometimes it's okay to let things just be. So this is pretty deep, but it was such a powerful message, because I certainly feel like I make everything mean something about me. So I take things way too personally. And one of my requests going into that ceremony was like, I want to tap into the personal power, the unconditional power. I want to find a way to stop assigning my value as a human being to other people or what they think of me. And I want to tap into this infinite source, this creative God power within me that created me, that also is within me, and know that it's enough. And that's exactly what the medicine showed me. It's like, okay, well, if you really desire this, then you have to let go of this concept that everything means something about you, because it doesn't. And the only thing that really is your truth is what's within. But in order to tap into that truth, you have to surrender making things mean, making everything mean something about you, because it doesn't. And it just doesn't. Other people, what they think, what they do, how things happen, what happens, when it happens, it does. And sometimes there's a lesson, but sometimes it just is. And there was so much power in that, and it was just like so profound. And so I kept asking the medicine throughout the journey last night, like, what does it mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? And the medicine kept telling me the same thing. At some point it was like, is ayahuasca trolling me? Like, is this a joke? Because every time I would ask this question, it would just, the answer I got back was like, it means you're worthy. Like, no matter what it was about, it means you're worthy. What does this mean? It means you're worthy. What does that mean? It means you're worthy. And I was like, is this a joke? And then I was like, this isn't a joke. It's truth. Because worthy is who I am. That's my nature. I was born worthy, and I will die worthy. Like, it's who I am. And if I wasn't worthy, I wouldn't even exist here as a human being. So I'm worthy of all of this. So anything, whatever it is, what people say, what people do, what happens, what doesn't happen, there really is no meaning other than I'm worthy. And the meaning that I'm worthy is not attached to other people or the events. It's just the truth. So it was kind of like a little bit of a joke, but it was like very profound and deep, because it was like, yeah, because not things don't mean anything about me. They just are. Other people just are. Things just are. When there's a lesson, there's a lesson, but sometimes it just is what it is. And the truth remains that I'm worthy. And throughout whatever happens, whoever says what or does what, or how things play out, the truth remains that I'm worthy. So there is no other meaning. And if I find a meaning, if I sign the meaning, I kind of get trapped sometimes. And maybe I question my worth, and maybe my worth becomes dependent on circumstances or other people, because I make it mean something. But if I detach from assigning meanings to the point where I just know my worth and it's unconditional, then that's a true source of power. It was an incredible night. I did not purge much. I kind of had this like realization that I had a choice. I could either be kind of like horizontal throughout the entire journey, basically just kind of lying down and staying in one place and just be a host to this medicine, or I could like be more active and move around, and I would probably purge and the medicine would not stay as long with me within my body. And I chose to lay down and just feel it all and hold the medicine within. and wait until the very end of the ceremony to let it out. And so at the very end, I went to the bathroom and, purged them in a way, but it wasn't like the first experience that I had in these 5 days. It was mild, and it was just like kind of like the end of the ceremony was just like my body letting things out, but it was just easy and nice and beautiful. And some of it was a little tumultuous, but it was because I was kind of resisting some of these realizations, and I was still looking for this meaning, and I was still trying to be mental and trying to find things to remember and trying to find things to think about. And then finally, when I surrendered to this physical experience, this very intimate, this very sexual experience, but like my own inner sexuality versus anything that has to do with other people. Once I kind of tapped into that energy and started to dive deeper into it, I started getting it. I started seeing it. I started allowing this physical, embodied awareness versus thinking, figuring things out, remembering, asking questions. And once I accepted that the ultimate meaning of everything was that I'm worthy. Ultimately, I'm just worthy. And that's the truth of my nature. That was the power that I was seeking to tap into. And when it happened, it was the most extremely miraculous, beautiful feeling. Last night we had some beautiful music played by the members of the circle. It was a bigger ceremony. There were more people involved this time. And it was amazing, the amount of like people that came and how beautiful they all are. We shared some last night, and then we shared this morning in a circle, like outside in the nature, and it was lovely and beautiful. And it's just such an incredible experience. And then my friend and I decided to skip the retreat for a day, and she lives nearby, so we went to the little town called Marshall in North Carolina, and we went to this metaphysical shop, and we found so many beautiful things, and she found some incredible gifts for her family and her friends, and I found these two beautiful new decks that I'm working with right now. I'm about to actually do a reading for myself and like really see what the messages are. And then we basically just had so much fun. We got some fresh local produce, and she made us dinner, so she cooked for us, which was lovely. We had some spaghetti with veggies, some fresh tomatoes, fresh basil, fresh pepper, some locally grown shiitake mushrooms, and had this dandelion tea / coffee like substance. It's delicious. And basically I did some readings for her, and we sat and we shared stories and really connected. It was beautiful. I've kind of been missing this sisterhood, like this divine feminine connection with a fellow medicine woman, and it's just so beautiful. Such an amazing day. And now I'm in her space and in her guest bedroom, which is a very lovely place here. And I got some lights right there that are really pretty, and we've got some insects singing outside. But we gotta get up early tomorrow and head back for the last third ceremony of this beautiful time, this beautiful visit. So I'm looking forward to that. And then tomorrow night I'm gonna be driving home. So I hope to share some of my further takeaways from the third ceremony driving back. I have been kind of integrating and activating some of my chakras throughout. So for the first ceremony, I have this set that I use for myself and my clients, which is like a block of selenite and a small like crystal pyramids that represent each of the 7 chakras, and my crystal wand with all the 7 chakra crystals on it. So I've been setting some crystals on the selenite wand for clearing and activation. For the first ceremony, I set the lower 2 chakras, which were the root and the sacral. For last night's ceremony, I had the solar plexus, the heart, and the throat. And then for tomorrow, I already set those today, this morning, are going to be the third eye and the crown. So that's the last 2 I'm going to be kind of activating and clearing tomorrow in tomorrow's ceremony. And I'm really kind of looking for a vision quest. My intention for tomorrow morning is going to be to kind of tap into any breakthroughs that are available for the legacy that I'm building, for the business that I'm creating, for the clients that I'm serving, and for my own spiritual path. And another thing that I wanted to mention last night was that I kind of got this beautiful vision from the medicine that I have, my legacy is already so strong, because there's so many beautiful people that have been introduced by the people that I introduced to the circle. So not directly, but I have brought some people into the circle, and they have brought more people into the circle and introduced more people to this medicine. And I didn't really realize it. I didn't really think of it like that. I was kind of having some conversations, and it was just like, oh yeah, I know him, I know her. And it's like, oh yeah, and I introduced them, and then they introduced those people. And it was just like, kind of have just like a nice feeling. But then the medicine showed me like, no, like you had, that's your legacy. Like if it wasn't for these connections that you've made, these people wouldn't be here. And now it's like people that know people that know people. So it's like so many like different layers of people discovering this medicine, this work, and it's such a powerful legacy. And I'm so grateful. It's such an amazing, beautiful world. And I woke up this morning feeling absolutely divine. I've been waking up for the past couple months just feeling so anxious, and just kind of like that's been kind of my life. Like I'm reluctant to go to sleep because I'm reluctant to let go of the day, because I'm feeling like there needs to be more things need to be done, and more things need to be figured out, and more things I need to think about. And I just stay up and I keep up, and it's just like exhausting. And then I go to bed very late. I wake up late. I have this anxiety the moment I wake up, like what did I miss? What should I do? Like what's going on? And I actually had that like after the first ceremony, like that second, like the morning that I woke up, like after the first ceremony, and it was still there, that feeling. And then the next morning it kind of subsided a little bit, but this morning I woke up and it was gone. I just felt so good in my body. Like I took time to like stretch and just like take in the world and take in the beautiful trees and the sunshine, and then like drank some water, brushed my teeth, shared some breakfast with the members of the circle, and just took it all in. I felt so grounded, so present. I was so present with each conversation. I was so present with each moment. And I feel like I don't remember when I last time I felt like this, if ever, like to this extent, this extent of peace, this extent of groundedness, this extent of joy and pleasure and receiving, and also just being so present within, and stress free, anxiety free, just totally grateful and in the moment and connected to myself, to others. I just feel so good. I feel healed. I feel like so many burdens have been lifted. So much trauma has been released, and so much of my power has been unlocked and made available to me again. So I'm really looking forward to the ceremony tomorrow, and looking forward to recording another update. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what the last update will be.
did?
Yeah, I have a PhD in documentary film and social justice.
So I am back from the journey. I have been back home for a couple of days now, and actually tonight marks the kind of the exact time that I was in the first ceremony, and I decided that it was time to kind of share some of the takeaways from my third experience on the trip and my overall 13th ceremony that concluded the journey that I've had. So it was by far the most powerful experience. It was this kind of, in a way, perfect conclusion to the entire journey, and there were a lot of elements that came through. So I actually took a couple of notes to stay on track as I share this. It was such a healing experience. It was truly transformational, and at the same time it was this new level that I've never experienced before, this new level of connection with the circle, with the shaman, with the medicine, and this kind of new step in my self-awareness, the awareness of my gifts, and the awareness of the impact that I can create in other people's lives, both positive and negative. So as it was starting, I had a little bit of a challenging experience with someone, and it was kind of shocking in a sense because that last ceremony happened during the day. I've never had a daytime ayahuasca experience. And so it started early in the morning, and right before it started, there were several things that happened. My car got stuck on the way up the hill. There was this conversation. There was this kind of painful awareness, like something's wrong, something's off. And I tried to push it aside. I tried to journal a little bit at the very start, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to focus on this. But as the medicine started kicking in, and I took quite a large serving of it, it was like, okay, there's no way I'm going to be able to avoid this. I'm going to have to face this. I'm going to have to deal with this. And I started realizing, like, wow, this is painful. So this hurt, this pain was coming through. And it was just, I was crying, and, you know, it kind of welled up and was emerging. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to surrender. There's a lesson in this. And early on in the ceremony, I decided to kind of step away from the circle and sit outside. And it was a beautiful day, surrounded by nature. It was sunny. And just like the connection that I felt to the trees, to the plants, to the insects, to the birds singing. It was absolutely incredible, magical. But I was sitting with this pain, and a realization that came through was I was like kind of touching my hair a lot. And I do this actually typically when my hair's done. I kind of tend to mess with it, making lip videos, talking, things like that. I'll play with it. But I had my hair in a bun, much like I do now, and I let it down, and I was like touching it, and all of a sudden I had this like pain, once again, this like emotional stuff, and I'm like, where's this coming from? So I was kind of brought back to my childhood, and I didn't have a lot of freedom with how I wore my hair. My hair was very long, and it was braided, and it was always braided by my mom or my grandma. But I always wanted to like wear it in a ponytail or wear it down, and I was almost never allowed to do that because it would, I guess, tangle. And it was like this realization that, like, wow, I didn't have this freedom to over, like, this sovereignty over my hair. And it was just like this a very odd realization that my hair remembers. So I was like touching it and it was just coming up, and I'm like, what is the lesson? Why is it coming up now? And the lesson was like the power of the sacred no, that I would say, no, I don't want to wear my hair like this, and it would not be heard. And I remembered some other difficult moments in my childhood and growing up in different settings, family settings, school settings, social settings, where I would say no and it was just not heard. And so the awareness that I came to kind of see, experience with this medicine was coming to realize that um, sharing my no and expressing no and having it not be heard or respected taught me to say yes to pretty much everything. And it was like, that's why I struggle setting boundaries, because deep inside I have this like fear or this expectation that if I say no, it's just not going to be heard. So it was such powerful medicine, because I'm like, oh wow, this can be healed. And that was just the beginning. So I continued sitting outside, and I was thinking about a person that I had this kind of difficult interaction with right before the ceremony started. And I was like, this person is such a hypocrite. Like, they say they do this and then they turn around and do the opposite. And I was just like getting so angry. And I was like, I will, after the ceremony's over, I will tell them. And I know what to say that will really hurt, because I felt hurt. And the medicine was like this conscious conversation, like once again, like this intelligence coming through, speaking to me, through me directly, as if I'm like hearing a response to what I'm thinking. And the response was, you think this person's a hypocrite? You're a hypocrite. And I'm like, what? Like, what? And this plant medicine consciousness was like, yes, you are. Because you say you heal people with your psychic gifts, but you hurt people with your psychic gifts also. And I'm like, what? No. And it's like, yeah, here you are sitting here, like with this medicine, attending this amazing ceremony, and you got hurt. And what do? You sit here and you're thinking of ways you're gonna hurt this person back. And you know where it's gonna hurt the most. And how do you think you know that? Through your psychic gifts, because you can read people, you can connect to their beliefs, their values, what they aspire to, what they fear, and you exploit that when you're hurting. You hurt people when you're hurting to lessen your own pain. And you use your psychic gifts to do that. And it was so uncomfortable, because as that message was being delivered to me, I realized it was absolutely true. And in fact, it's been easy for me to conceal that, because I don't go out hurting my clients. I don't go out hurting my friends. I don't go out hurting my audience. I hurt the people that are closest to me. And the reason I do that is because in these closest relationships, I feel safe enough to allow myself to feel whatever hurt is going on. And the people closest to me hurt me the most because they're the closest to me, right? Or whatever happens between us hurts us the most, has the capacity to hurt me the most. And so when that happens, I retaliate and I hurt the people that are closest to me in my life. And I've been doing this for a long time. And so I was brought back once again to early childhood memories where that pattern started. And it was just like, my no was not heard. And a lot of my interactions were with my grandmother, my mom, so my female line, and they're both water signs. They're both very emotional. And so when I felt hurt by them, or I felt like I didn't have the power to express a no, or I wasn't being heard, or things weren't going my way, and I felt like I was hurting as a child, or like later on growing up, I would find a way to hurt them the most. And I used my psychic gifts because I've always had my gifts. And that was the first application where I was like, okay, I know how to push back, even though I'm just a child, and it worked. There was this response that I would get where I could see that my words could really hurt someone, and my knowing exactly how to use words as weapons based on my psychic awareness, based on my intuitive, empathic read. And it was so hard to take in because it was so true. And I'm like, oh my God, I am a hypocrite because I use my psychic gifts as a psychic coach, a healer, a reader. And I also use these same gifts to hurt the people that are closest to me. And here I am plotting to hurt a person that I felt hurt by right now while the ceremony is going. And I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be like this. Like, one of my quests going into these series of ceremonies was to tap into my personal power more. And basically the medicine's like, you have access to about 10% of your potential. And the reason for that is you're using some of that potential to hurt people. So the higher intelligence is restricting your access so that you don't have the potential to cause a lot of damage. And I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And it's probably the best thing. And now I know I want to change this. I don't want to hurt people anymore. I don't want this to be a pattern. I want to hold my pain. I want to heal my pain. I want to work on things. I want to learn from people, whether they're good teachers or bad teachers that I don't enjoy, the way the lesson was delivered. But I don't want to retaliate by causing pain intentionally, especially using my gifts. And the medicine showed me, like, you have a power to change your karma because you've been creating karma with this pattern and you get a chance to change it. And I was like, I will take it, whatever it takes. And whatever it takes ended up being like, okay, if you really want to change it, you have to feel the damage that you've been causing. And I was like, okay. And so I don't know how long it lasted, time kind of disappeared, but it was like an abyss of suffering that I just felt. It wasn't physical pain, but it was like emotional, mental, internal torment. All I remember that I can put into words is just like seeing red and feeling suffering, torment, like trauma, shock, pain, deep, not physical, but much deeper than physical, like soul level torment, hell, basically. And all I remember is this color red, and it's just like a kaleidoscope, like shades of red, shards of red. And I'm just like sitting in this rocking chair outside, just like rocking myself, like sobbing, like I can't even make sound. Like the sobbing is like, like just like this state. And all I remember is just like whispering, thank you, throughout the sobbing. And the shaman came out and did a little bit of clearing on me while that was happening, and it helped. But I sat with it. I stayed with it. I stayed with it as long as it continued. And I was just like saying, thank you, like as long as it takes, like I'm changing this pattern. I no longer want this karma. I don't want to continue creating it. In the medicine, even as the experience kind of subsided and I was like coming back to this like awareness that the journey keeps going, this medicine journey is like going, continuing, right? There was this awareness that came in that like, this is not a one-time decision. Like, you get to change it, you get to see it, you get the awareness, you get the power to change it. You made the choice to feel it, So now you get to choose every single time. It's not a one-time decision. It's not like it's like consent. Like it's given every time that whatever takes place takes place. It's not something that you give once and then everyone can assume like it's going to be a yes forever. And it's like you have to be discerning with your yeses and your nos. You have to honor your sacred no. You can now protect your own no. But at the same time, every time you're going to choose not to hurt people, you're going to choose not to hurt people every single time. You're going to be given a choice. And sometimes this choice is not going to be easy because you're going to want to do it again because you've done it. You know how to. You know how to use your powers to do that. And when you're in deep hurting yourself, you're going to want to hurt someone else because you want someone else to share your pain. But that's going to be a choice, and you're going to have to keep making the choice not to do it if you want to change this karma. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't sound easy, but I'm ready to change it. So that was like by far the most powerful healing of the entire experience, the entire journey, the entire 3 ceremonies, 5 days. It was just like, that's what I came here for. Like, that's why I feel like there's a gap between the potential power that I hold and like something's limiting it. Something's limiting my access to it. So I got my answer and I got a way to change that. So I was tremendously grateful. So after that, I had this incredible experience with a bee, and it didn't even start with the actual bee. It was like, I was just for some reason remembering a friend of mine who also attends these circles occasionally, who's a coach. There's some framework that has this abbreviation BEE, and it stands for something. I couldn't remember what it stood for, but it was just like kind of came into my consciousness. And then I'm like, interesting, why is this coming up? And then I see an actual bee. I'm like, oh wait, like what's happening here? Like, why am I thinking about this? And then I see an actual bee. I was thinking about this abbreviation. I can't remember what it stands for. And now there's this bee, like actual bee. And this bee stayed with me for the longest time, and it would like land on me, fly around me, and it's almost like it was communicating with me, and it really felt like it was. And although it wasn't like verbal, I felt like I was understanding it. It was like almost like trying to help me lift this energy. So as I'm sitting outside, as all of this is happening, there's this bee, just like one singular bee that's attending to me. Like it would fly around, it would land on me, it would land on the armchair of the chair that I was sitting on, or like the arm of the chair. It would land on the like rail. It was just like an incredible experience with an insect that felt like an intelligent exchange. It was like absolutely magical. And it was I said so many thank yous to that bee. I was like, thank you for being with me, bee. Thank you for being with me. Pun intended. So that was quite magical. Another breakthrough that I had was holding power. That was like quite intense. So I was asking the medicine about holding the frequency of money, wealth, and not necessarily making it or spending it or like how do I get more of it, but more like when I have it, when I hold it, how can I learn to hold it instead of like needing to do something with it, needing to spend it, needing to put it somewhere, like what am I not getting? And the medicine kind of showed me like that money, wealth, that frequency, that energy is very similar to the creative energy that we have, especially as women, like this womb space, this place that we can create life in. And same with power and gifts. And the medicine was showing me like the reason that we want to like kind of question ourselves, like, what am I doing with my power? What am I using my gifts for? What am I creating? What am I spending this money on? Is because we need to learn how to hold it. And holding it and doing something with it are two different things. So the medicine was showing me like, as a woman, whether you have children or not, whether you use your motherhood potential for other things or not, doesn't make you a woman. What makes you a woman is that you have that capacity, is that you hold
that capacity to create life. And I was like, okay, interesting. I was like, the power, the creative power that you have. You know, how people say, like, if you're a writer, you can't help but write, or like, you can't stop yourself from writing. And the medicine was like, no, not quite. It's like, if you have this creative capacity to be an artist, or to write, or to produce something, you have these ideas, it's not the creating them, it's not the doing them that makes you a creator. Creator is who you are, which is why you can do it, which is why you have the ideas. But it's not the doing that makes you the creator. Creator is who you are. The holding that capacity is what makes you a creator. Having that potential is what makes you a creator. What you do with it is a different story. And I'm like, wow, okay. Seeing definite similarities. And then finally it was like, money, wealth. It's not what you do with it. It's not what you spend it on. It's not how much you make. It's about what happens when you hold it. Can you hold it? Or do you feel like that in order to do it, make it, have it, you have to spend it, make it, chase after it? Or can you just hold it? Can you allow it to come in, and can you just hold it? What if you have more money than you can spend or know what to do with? Will you freak out, or can you just hold it? And I was like, wow. So that was a very interesting lesson, and it felt like a feminine energy lesson for sure. It was like, it's not what you do with the power. It's not what you do with the creative force that can create life within your body. It's not what you do with the money. It's, can you hold it? And then I was kind of brought to this like, these memories of you know, how I've been so addicted to so many things, like coffee, alcohol, just constant stimulation, distractions, relationships, unhealthy relationships for a pretty long period of my life, or just relationships that weren't, there was no substance. It's just like something to fill the space. And I'm like, all of these things have something in common. And the medicine showed me, it was like, yes, they do. It's that you learned how to fill the void before you learned how to hold the void. You learn how to use your gifts, or distract yourself, or occupy your mind, or spend the money, or chase after the money, before you learn how to hold the energy of it without needing to do anything with it. Just holding it is an art that you have yet to master. And I was like, wow. It felt empowering, this realization. It was just like, holding is very different. Holding the void, holding the emptiness, holding the emotion, holding the feeling, holding the power, holding the potential, holding the wealth. Yes, there are things to do with it. Yes, there are things to create with it, but it's not about that. First, it's about holding it. And then it's about, like, are you going to do something with it? Will you do something with it? Or will you just hold it? And just holding it is also okay. It's not something to constantly do something with in order to even validate its existence. It's about holding it. So, yeah, that was quite incredible. I had some purging that I was kind of resisting. I was, when I was little, I had this, I was sick for a while, and I was throwing up a lot as a child, and I just kind of remember it was like it's a traumatic memory, because I was like kind of trying to stop it, and it would just like happen. And it lasted for a few weeks too. So I've always been somewhat afraid of throwing up, or like kind of felt like unsafe if that would ever happen. So I felt like it was coming up, and I was resisting it. And I don't always catch myself doing it during ceremony, but this time I was like, I don't want to go through that. And then finally I was like, I have to go through that. And as it was happening, all of a sudden, like I caught myself saying, no fear, like out loud, no fear, no fear. And I was like, whoa. So it felt really great. I was like, oh, there's nothing to fear. It's just like purging, you know? But the fact that I said it out loud, it was just kind of surprised me. I'm like, must be one of the messages, must be one of the lessons. And it really kind of set me free. Made me feel like, yeah, I'm not afraid of this. I'm not afraid of anything. But it was just like no fear. So that was another powerful lesson that manifested itself. And then finally, kind of towards the end of the ceremony, I came back to the circle, and it was a really great experience. But I was in the circle, and I was right next to the shaman, and it was interesting because I thought before, like throughout that experience of 5 days, I was like, oh, I just had this thought. It'd probably be cool to be like right next to the shaman. But I was on the closing end of the circle. Usually the circle would kind of go around this way. And so I was at the very end of the circle, and I ended up next to the shaman because something like places switched around, some people switched around. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. I only thought about this. I didn't really try to do it, but it just kind of manifested itself. And actually the circle started on me, and I was like the first to take the medicine, and I was the first to share after the journey came to a conclusion. And as this kind of ceremony progressed, it was like, you are the one today. You're the one who starts the circle, and you're the one who is kind of your experiences, your healing, what you're surrendering and transforming is influencing the entire circle. So it was just like an awareness that I've never had before, like a very powerful one. Like, you're a leader today. And I was so deep with this journey. I just like, every time this thought would come up, this awareness would come up, I would just like start crying, like, because I was so humble. And I was like, why me? How can I possibly be chosen for this? And it was just like, it just happened. And the medicine was like, it's because you didn't try hard. You thought like, what would it be like to be like right next to the shaman? And here you are. There was no attachment. There was no trying. It just happened because it's meant to be, because you're ready, because this is good for everyone. This is good medicine. And there was this like also distinction, like good medicine and bad medicine. And the plant consciousness was showing me like, hurting people when you're hurting, it's medicine, but it's bad medicine, because you can really traumatize someone, and you have. And they will heal, and that will be medicine, but it's bad medicine because it doesn't come from a good place. And you being at the start of the circle and kind of having this leadership role a little bit that I wasn't expecting is good medicine. So that was an interesting distinction. Everything is medicine, but there is such a thing as good medicine, apparently. So this being in this role, not anything I had to play into, but holding this power of taking the medicine first, sharing first, just like this leadership that I was surprised by. It really showed me the capacity of the power that I can hold, that I have not been able to access previously. And I had some incredible visions. This just like, I'm not going to go into it. It was quite personal. But I was like, this is me. Like, this is me. And I had several incredible conversations afterwards. And it was like, wow. I was kind of shown the legacy. Like, I've been creating a legacy in this community. I've been creating a legacy with these relationships with people that I have. And I've been kind of downplaying it. I've not been really seeing how powerful it is, and maybe not capable of seeing that due to the circumstances that were revealed. But it was a powerful realization. So, and finally there was this kind of unconditional forgiveness, because at the end of the ceremony, I came to realize that even that hard conversation that I had right before the ceremony started, it was medicine. It showed me a reflection of myself. It triggered me into judging someone else. And then the medicine revealed how that's the exact reflection of what I've been doing in my own life. So I was like, I forgive this person, and I'm grateful for the lesson, because had it not happened, maybe I wouldn't even see myself, my own crap. So I was like I felt this forgiveness. I was like, I forgive them, and I forgive forgive my parents, my grandparents, my friends, my clients, my ex-clients, my future clients, everyone. And it was just like this feeling of unconditional forgiveness. I forgive myself for this pattern, for not being able to access my gifts to the fullest capacity because I've been creating some bad medicine type karma, and now I get to release it. But I forgive myself for not knowing, because now I do, and now I'm gonna change it. That was incredible. I was still kind of feeling the medicine when I started driving home, but I had a long drive home ahead of me, so I headed out early. I didn't even get to really kind of say goodbye to everyone. I was just like, it's time to hit the road. And on the way back, I'm part of this incredible community called the Alpha Femme Experience, led by my mentor, Melanie Ann Layer, and it's a sisterhood. And within this community, there was a energy healing session right that evening. So as I was driving home, I got to listen to it, and there was lovely sound healing, channeled messages, kind of meditation style gathering. And what was taught was exactly something that like was so perfectly matched for my last experience of that visit. And what it was judgment versus discernment. So the lesson that was taught was, when you judge someone, it takes you out of alignment. It opens you up to these kind of negative energies, lower vibrational energies. And no matter how aligned you were or what state you were in, when you judge someone else, whether there is a reason for that or not, it takes you out of alignment. It takes you to a lower vibration. And I was like, yes, that's true. Because I was experiencing that in the ceremony. And so discernment is different, because discernment allows you to say, this is not for me. I did not enjoy this experience. This experience hurt me. So I don't want to repeat that. I don't really want to go there with a particular person, for example, right? But I'm not going to judge them. I don't know their journey. They're on their own journey. I know things about them, but I don't know their journey. I know my journey, and that's the only journey I can really know. So I'm not going to judge them, but I'm going to use discernment to say, this is not for me. Or maybe there's something to learn from it, but I'm not going to judge the person. And I'm going to use the power of my sacred no to say, this is not for me. But at the same time, honor the person, no matter the nature of the lesson that they were teaching you, and not stoop to judge them. And I was like, this sums it up. So it's pretty late right now. I'm recording this video in the middle of the night. My sleep patterns have been a little on and off. And I'm integrating a lot of this medicine, these teachings. And I feel restored, healed, absolutely renewed. I feel like when I got back home, my husband said, like, you look lighter, you look younger, you look like you're 17 years old. And I was like, wow. But it was like, yeah, you glow, it's like you're a brand new person, and that's kind of how I feel. So my energy has been really great. It's been a little up and down too, like kind of like calibrating to this new level. I've had some powerful downloads coming through for my business, for some rituals. I've had this kind of shift that I'm still feeling, and it's a new month just started. So it's the night of September 1st to September 2nd, 2021, when I'm recording this final piece of my vlog. And I just want to thank you for following this journey with me. If you've been looking to kind of learn about the nature of this plant medicine, feel free to ask any questions that you have. I'm possibly looking to create some more content around it. The nature, location, description, any details of the circle I will never be able to provide. It's a very private space. I don't want to mention anyone who is part of it or anything around it, because I want to respect the privacy. It's generally agreed not to share any details, so I'm only sharing my own journey with it and with this medicine. And I'm only doing so because I'm really called to do so. It was just like something that I became aware of that I'm gonna do before I even went on this experience. It's like, I know there is a need. I know there will be people that find this vlog and they will be, it will help them decide if this is the right medicine for them or not. It will help them kind of know a little bit of my journey with it, and possibly see if that's something that speaks to them, resonates to them. And I think that it needs to happen, because I think that it's such a transformative tool. It's such a deep connection to Mother Nature, and the Mother Nature within yourself, you being a part of the universe around you. That's what it truly helps you experience, and it helps you know yourself deeper. The name of my company, of my psychic coaching business, is Know Thyself, and that's kind of my goal in life. The only thing, the biggest value that I strive towards is to know thyself. So if this is not a tool that can help you do that, I don't know what is, because it has truly changed my life. So I hope this video has been helpful to you, and I hope you have found what you were looking for coming into watching it. So I'm going to look forward to seeing your questions in the comments if you have any, and perhaps some of these questions might inspire more content around these topics. So I will see you in my next video. Sending you so much love. Thank you for being here. Thank you for following this journey. And I'll see you soon. Bye.